Welcome back, audience. Welcome to my jungle for another episode. And today we're going to talk about, or rather, I'm going to talk and you listen, about about gender polarity and the importance of approaching life in a masculine way and in a feminine way. Because it's easier to play this game if you play it right. And after thorough examination of how everything works in this reality, I've concluded that this idea of immediately becoming neutral or neutered, whatever, um, women becoming neutral in the sense of adding masculine part to themselves and a man becoming neutral adding the feminine part of themselves. And I said in the previous video that that's cheating in life. That's because it's an easy path and it's backwards. It's that what everything is wrong with society is this. Everything is wrong with society is this because everything starts from the seed. Whatever seed you're going to plant, that's what you're going to get. And what is the seed? The seed is the relationship of yin with the yang. Okay? And there's one version where they are dancing in reciprocating energies. The fire element moving up in the Taurus field, and the water element is moving on the opposite direction. The fire is rising, the water is falling, and they're moving at the, uh, basically in a synchronic manner. Because I don't know if you saw these like quantum experiments and like when you're having like those two particles entangled, and you have it looks like a yin and yang, because at the very primordial state, when life arises, immediately you have the flux of the masculine particle and the feminine particle. And guess what's there? The center is like almost like a mirror. And whatever the masculine particle of fire is doing, the water particle or the feminine particle is doing mirror opposite of that. And it has to do this because whenever fire is moving, there's motion, right? And unless the feminine particle is moving on the other side in a completely, like that infinity sign, right? Like that. And that's what they're doing at the very core. And the reason, I mean, this is just the way it is, okay? The fire element leads and the water molecule follows. Fire particle moves and water particle follows. And what happens is that it is necessary for this type of motion because otherwise there's no motion. You cannot have the motion, right? Like a real reciprocating motion you cannot have without the feminine moving in a complementary manner. Okay? That motion of the feminine in a complementary manner provides the energy for the fire. Whatever the fire wants to draw by a feminine particle moving in exact complementary way, it provides the energy to draw that whatever is being created. Okay, so therefore fire is the creative element. It's also the light. Everything is light, So everything that's been created, it's been created by that fire element and fueled by the feminine at the basis, right? And later, as it's developing, the fire element becomes the dreamer itself that creates the experience, the world, the movie, the game, whatever. And the feminine is the one that it's being created for. She provides the energy for the dreamer to dream, which is kind of eliminates doubt. Uh, uh, so the energy is flowing, the dream is happening, and the dream is for her, because fire is only happy when it's creating, and water is only happy when it's being shaped and receiving the beauty of the form. It's basically the water particle says, show me how beautiful you can make me into, what beauty you can make me into. I suppose I'm butchering the English language here, but how beautiful do you see me? That's pretty much what the water is saying, because it's the mirror, whatever is going to paint, and then that's the feminine is going to experience. See, that's how you see me. Okay, that's what I am. Okay. Um. So again, the message of this little story is that for the fire element to move the way it has to move, it's basically whatever you desire, you have whatever you create. If you're a man, um, you must be in the process of actively creating what you desire for her. You see? And if you don't have the energy for whom you are actually doing this, like this feminine energy for whom you're actually doing this, or a feminine energy says like, I don't need it, I'm fine as it is, or whatever, it blocks your energy. You don't receive the energy. And if anybody is in your life is like that, that's blocking your creative flow, no matter what they are, you have to, if you want to go back into the reciprocating energy, you got to set those boundaries and say, well, this is what I want to create. There's lots of obstacles in the way, and the last thing I need is somebody who's supposed to support me is moving against me because of tantrums or whatever. You set your boundaries and you watch what unfolds. If that feminine stays with you, then they must engage in a surrender. As you engage in courage as a man, a woman must engage in the surrender, because it's only there you can meet in the middle. This is why I say that men have responsibility for going and having courage to create the dream that they want to create. They see injustice in the world and all that shit, and they see like, what can I do? And a man of the good heart, that's what it wants. Like, what can I do? And so this is what I could do. Okay, this is what I'm gonna do. And you do it. And if you don't receive a supporting energy, you find it somehow. But the energy must support you. Energy must support your vision. Because if you're engaging in courage, somebody has to engage in surrender. Okay? And I knew as a man, you have to keep on facing the obstacles with courage and finding the way to overcoming those obstacles, because nothing should stand in your dream. And you're creating your dream for love. That's what you're doing. You're not creating a dream to some kind of selfish reason, but you take that power to create, you need that power to protect the existence of love, right? But you can't do this to anybody who doesn't want to receive from you. So if a woman is in a masculine energy and she doesn't want to receive that from you, then it's not the woman. Because if you're engaging in your hero's journey, the only complementary feminine energy is the heroine energy, and it's not the same. And it's not the same. It's, as I sometimes say, the man's journey is starting with the heart, alchemy within the heart, magic imagination within the mind, because you need imagination to create what you want to create. And if you see something that you don't like, say, okay, that's the fact, but the fact is not the truth. What is the truth? The truth, whatever it feels closer to love, and you envision that one. And then the last part is might. Is actually you actually have to take a physical, intangible action. So you manipulate, and that's why the word is manipulate. And it's manipulate in itself. The word is not bad, okay, because it has two sides, and it has the word man in it. And so basically it means that you are affecting the energies. You're affecting the feelings through emotion. You're affecting the patterns through imagination, and then you are affecting the the physical world, the sensations, through the action, motion. Okay, that's the masculine thing. That's the role that you play. And so that cannot happen, as you can see, without the complementary. Because if you're engaging in this, in those three facets, you have to have somebody somewhere on the other side of the world, or it doesn't even have to be other side of the world, but someone has to engage in others. And as you're engaging in saying, well, I'm just going to do my man's duty. And at first, as you keep doing your duty as a man and stand by it, whatever is going to change in your life, it's okay. But you got to stand by what you're doing, and stand by, not to waver on your dream. Be consistent. Eliminate any kind of doubts. And it's, what you would call your hero's journey. But in a very real way. You live, the emotions happen, you feel them, you alchemize them, then there's a need to see something that is not right, not good, reimagine it. And then there's something that needs to be moved from one place to another. You make sure that is done. Okay, that's masculine. Okay. And somewhere, someone is going to be engaging, as the complementary action is to alchemy is devotion, complementary action to magic is obedience, and complementary action to might is care. Okay? Again, you can use any kind of words, but I'm just placing in those three worlds of the heart, the mind, and the body, two complementary energies, masculine and feminine. And I'm sustaining them throughout. Like, I'm not breaking that primordial law at any point. Because at the primordial level, it's this. It's either everything is moving in the right direction or the wrong direction. I kept on saying that multiple times, but I'm going to keep on repeating this because it is that simple. You've got to start moving in the right direction as a man, and you've got to start moving as a woman in the right direction as well. And it's probably going to be the opposite. If you experience something that you are, the challenges come along and you're not dealing with the challenges in the right way, or you try to deal with it but it sort of kind of backfires, then you got to change the tune and got to make a huge change. Total change, actually. Any change is a total change, not a little bit. So what's the devotion thing? Well, as a man, you're facing all these emotions and you go into the center of it. Like, that's a very masculine way of dealing it, right? You're not backing down from whatever is coming at you. You're not backing down. You actually facing it all. On the feminine, actually, it's the opposite. You surrender to whatever is going on. That's devotion. You surrender to, something is happening, and you just surrender to whatever is happening emotionally. Okay? So, and there's moments when you have to do one or the other, but you can always deal in a feminine way. There are two challenges, because there's always two challenges. The first comes the fire challenge, and then the second comes the water challenge. The fire challenge is basically the anger, rage, and all that emotion, fire. And I said, like, as a man, you face it, and go back in kind of to the center of it. You face that fire and find the center. You go into it, and in the feminine way, you can just surrender to it. Of course, for every masculine action, there is a sort of complementary to the feminine as well, but is what you identify with. And this is why I'm recommending for a man to identify with that masculine principle. But as you're going to be identifying with that masculine principle of courage, automatically you're going to be surrounded in a complementary feminine energy. But you're going to be identified with the masculine. And you can be identified with the feminine and feel like the masculine energy is pretty much like piercing through the surrender, and you as a masculine energy, you feel like you are the one that piercing through. And I hope I'm making sense here, but what I'm trying to say is that devotion and alchemy is a complementary force. And there's no some degree of alchemy without the devotion, and some degree of devotion without alchemy. This is why the yin and yang has those little dots in there. Okay, so you cannot be totally fire, because that's burning. You got to have a little bit of water, and that's great. And then you can deal with it another way. You can be totally water and add a little bit of fire, and everything's fine. Okay, but you can identify with the yin or with the yang. You can totally do that. And I also can say is that, again, after thoroughly looking into this, I don't think, because the truth is that we have subconscious as a man and we have subconscious as a woman. And I think they, or at least the way I observe, is if you have a male body or a feminine body or a female body, you have a feminine brain or a male brain. Of course, there might be sort of like, deviations from the norm, but I'm talking about in general. Like you receive the male body, you receive the male brain, and you receive the male subconscious as well. There is a certain type of structure that is there that you cannot override because it's hard-coded. You can try, but this is why, like, when trying to cheat in this game, and a man just takes over the attributes of the female and trying to fuck with their own subconscious, there is a big backlash happening, and then because it's hard-coded and you're trying to override the hard-coded system, you start short-circuiting yourself. And this is why there's lots of psychological problems starts arising, because you're trying to make a masculine subconscious into the feminine subconscious. And I'm not saying this, very willy-nilly. Okay? I've tested this through. Okay? I fucked with my own subconscious in to see if it is true or not. Okay? So I don't know. You can obviously try it out yourself and see if that's true for you too. But what I found to be that the feminine subconscious is different from the masculine subconscious on a hard-coded level. And I've based on my experience, I've never seen a woman who's happy, who's actively trying to program their subconscious mind in a masculine way. I've never seen a man happy who's trying to actively program their subconscious with the feminine. Okay, I'm talking about ideally. Of course, this reality permits any kind of experiment. You can do that. But I'm talking about ideally, if you are ready to be who you truly are, and you're done with the experiments, or you had enough of the experiment. Okay? I hope you didn't make a permanent damage. But that's what I'm trying to say. And then again, I'm not denying the reality that there are deviations and stuff like that, but I'm talking about, and I also not denying somebody who is want to have a challenge and see what it's like to have a masculine subconscious with some feminine attributes and see what it's like. I mean, I'm not denying that that could not be the case, but I'm saying that most of the time, um, it's a coping mechanism and it's not genuine. And in any case, I would have to say that um, ideally speaking, um, you cannot change what is hard coded. Whatever it can be soft coded, that's fine. Whatever it cannot be, there were many experiments about trying to see if how far you can go reprogramming somebody's, for example, uh, sexual preference, right? Whether they're attracted to the feminine principle or the masculine principle. Okay, and there's been a lot of experiments that trying to see what can be done, and basically what they find is that, again, whatever is hard coded you cannot change. Whatever is soft coded you can. And anyway, I don't want to get into much into these experiments, but I'm just talking about the gist of it. There is something in our subconscious that is hard coded, and that's happened before you came into this video game, and you cannot override that. You must, because you already selected what you're going to play and say, I'm going to have a masculine subconscious. Okay, and these are going to create my challenges in my hero's journey, and then I'm going to figure out the way. I may cheat, and I tried not to go on my hero's journey and not try to use the courage and use too much surrender, and then I will see what happens, and then I won't be happy, and I'll find out that, oh, okay, I went the wrong way, because that's not my subconscious. This is what happens in the spiritual circles sometimes, because there's a lot of these teachings of surrender, but that's very feminine, and this is why, like, a lot of men probably go there. They try this, like, whatever thing, but they didn't have a fucking feel good about that. At least I didn't. There was something always off. And it's like, no, that's not me. I can't fucking do that shit. Like, I want to have a control. I want to have control over my reality. And I want somebody in my life who doesn't want any control, that just want a total carefree freedom, and I take all responsibility in exchange of this carefree freedom. And I receive the energy and inspiration to create the dream, and the feminine receives this carefree living the dream. And so that's what I found to be the case within myself as hard coded. This is something that is not my opinion. I cannot change that. This is it. I chose this game, and so I'm going for it because that's the reality. That's the truth. Now, of course, when we say control, sometimes there might be like, we use the phrase control freak, right? Well, there's a way to control something because you're not actually in control, and that's the ego tantrum. And there's a way to control something because you are actually in control, and you can have an effect on the reality. Okay, and so there's this real control and illusion of control, and I'm separating those two. One is out of insecurity in ego tantrum, and one is out of soul desire. But this is why I'm not eliminating this word control and not eliminating this word manipulation. It exists, and it's can be used for the dark, or it can be used for the light, just the way it is. Okay? And so you can manipulate people into suffering, or you can manipulate people into truth or bliss or whatever, But there's one is a liberation and freedom, and there's another one is suffering. And the results speak for themselves, right? So if you see some guru teaching people for 20, 30 years, and they keep on depending on and listening and, really stayed at the same level, well, that's the results speak for themselves. Something is off with that picture. So, but by accepting that part of us that is hard coded, um, this matrix soft code is trying to override your hard coded system. But the hard coded, you can't override it. Eventually, if you're really honest with yourself, because the more you're going to try to use this matrix software, you're going to start feeling bad and bad and bad. And the more you start looking into this, you start realizing you're finding something that is hard coded within you. And it's like it's not compatible with the software at all. It has to write its own software. And that's the masculine principle. And this is why I'm saying that most men on this planet are put with the masculinely hard-coded subconscious, and women are put with the femininely hard-coded subconscious. Okay? And both have a complementary energy. And even this thing that if somebody has a control, like this, for example, to take this concept, somebody has a control over somebody else, and it's like, oh, that's bad. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Because it depends what the person does with that control. And as with anything, I also have to say something about this manifestation. I really don't like, based on what I'm seeing, that part of it is being put as a cookie cutter solution to everybody, and there's no specifications between a man and a woman. This is why I have to say that if this is true, what I'm saying, that manifestation, again, the word man in it, when a woman is trying to do manifestation, she's going against her nature. She's trying to take control, okay? And that's not going to lead to anywhere good. And the only way she's doing it because there's nobody around her who does take control. And she's like, okay, men are not taking control. They're creating structures that I don't want to be part of, so I'm going to take control. But that's just a coping mechanism. This is why a woman would receive everything without active manifestation, because some man dream is a woman's gift. It's just the way it is. Some man's soul desire is a woman's soul desire as a gift as well. You see? It's all complementary. This is why, like in the spiritual circles, people talk about like just letting go and being, and like Eckhart Tolle's approach, and other people who teach this, just letting go and being everything as is. This is feminine, okay? And it's great because as a woman, you're going to be receiving a lot of things that if you just tune into that energy of surrender, the gifts will start coming to you. You don't need to actively manifest something because, like I said, obedience is the feminine role in manifestation. Why? Because the mind, that part of the mind that is feminine or receiving, will receive the vision of the masculine energy and believe it, and that is how facilitates. That's almost definition of the inspiration. Okay, it's facilitation of this dream. The someone masculine is envisioning the perfect dream for you. And by just giving energy to that and obeying to that and believing that it is so, you contribute to that dream, exactly what you want. This is why the heroine's path is, again, devotion, obedience, and care. Devotion is complementary to alchemy, obedience is complementary to magic, and care is complementary to might. Okay? And only ego may have a problem with this, may have a problem with reciprocating energies and say, well, maybe as masculine is dominating feminine, or, feminine is dominating masculine. Only the ego can see that. The heart does not see the problem with the natural order of things. Okay? Because if a woman would be totally and completely honest with themselves, would say, holy shit, that would feel amazing just to have a carefree life and take care of the things that I really want to do and not worry about survival and all this other bullshit, And I just enjoy the dream that my man is creating. That's honesty and that's truth. And as you can see, the power of that masculine thing that draws everything, and the feminine corresponds to it as almost like a mirror image of it. There is no domination one over the other. There is reciprocation, but there is a total acceptance that yes, the masculine moves, creates the motion, and the feminine creates the facilitation, provides the energy for that motion. And so, just the way things are, And the more you bring it into your life, the more you bring it into day-to-day life, the better your life is going to be. And if you as a woman start engaging in those three facets of the heart, the mind, and the body, of devotion, obedience, and care, and whatever that's going to create is going to create. Basically, what I'm trying to say here is that if a man in your life does not correspond to the energy that you're going to engage in, that surrender energy, the universe is going to change that man to some other man who does correspond to that energy, or it's going to facilitate and change in that man, one or the other. Okay, but as long as you stay in your masculine energy and you want to control, that's going to bring a man who doesn't want to take responsibility, and you see what I'm trying to say. You change your energy, and the compatible energy is going to come into your reality. It's just the way it works. You move into your feminine, and the compatible masculine is going to come in. And this is why, like, if you say, like, well, there's no good men, or where are the good men, or why this Prince Charming is not coming? Because you're not in the right energy. You're in this control freak energy. So what do you expect? And I know Matrix can condition people like that, and it's not the universal truth, and it may be difficult to recondition your way of being. It may take time. If you went in one direction all your life, and now suddenly you want to change it, it may take time for the body and the brain to adapt to this new thing. But the change in your heart happens instantaneously, because you can choose to surrender at any moment, and you can choose courage in any moment, for the man and for the woman. This is why my school of thought is based on what I see in nature. You can argue with it all you want, but you cannot go against the nature. You can try for a little bit, But your willpower can never overcome the natural order of things. You will overburn, crash, and it's just gonna happen. Because what's hard coded, no matter how much you try to soft code it, it's gonna override it. It's just going to override it. You're going to be exhausted and tired, and you're just going to give up if you're gonna keep on doing this. 100%. And some people need to see that. Some people need to go and they hit the rock bottom to see that that's the way it is. And once a woman is keep on fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting, and in the end surrender, suddenly all the support's coming. And then when a man is always backing out from a fight, from a conflict, once he didn't had enough of it, when he fucking loses it and just like, fuck this shit, no, I stand for it. And the moment you put everything on the line, you put your life on the line, but you stand for something, boom, now the universe on your side, back to normal. Back to how it's supposed to be. You see? The natural way of things. The natural way of things feels really good. And I do everything in my power to fight for this in my culture. Because as you know, there is no world out there. Everything that you'll ever experience will be coming as these pixels on the screen, emotions, sensations, and apparatus. There's only your world. And if you start seeing this and say, like, well, I'm going to take care of my world. That's how things are working in my world. I'm going to stand by the natural principles in my world. It feels good to me to stand by the natural principles. It feels good as a man to have control over my life. And it feels good as a woman to just let go and go with the flow in my life. You see? And enough of this, hermaphrodite bullshit, It's just like cheating. Yeah, you can cheat in a game. Sure, you can cheat. But, how good does it feel when you know that you met the challenge, you overcame the challenge in the right way, in a natural way, and it feels good? Did it the right way. And when you cheated, you can escape your consciousness, right? You're gonna feel bad. It's like, fuck, this doesn't feel right. I did this thing that Matrix told me to do, and yet I feel like I cheated at it, So it will not feel good unless you do it the right way. The natural way of things. Anyway, okay. Well, that's my message for today. If you focus on the first principle of polarization and gender, and you don't back down on that one, you'll see how the universe responds to you. It does. It does. Because, like I said in the previous video, there's this matrix of challenge, and then there's matrix of guidance, I suppose. And every time you do the right thing, suddenly all the synchronicities and support start coming. You know you've done the right thing. And when you do the wrong thing, suddenly everything's dull again, and not there's no synchronicities, magic is gone. And so, but that's okay, because that's how it teaches us. And you cannot learn by first making a mistake. You make a mistake, you correct it. You make a mistake, you correct it. You make a mistake, you correct it. And that's totally cool. That's how we learn. But if you make a mistake and try to hide it, you can't learn. Well, there you go. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next one. Peace.